Welcome to the Benzino Podcast, where we're calling a spade a spade. Great to be here with you guys today. What the heck is going on? What a Wednesday it has been over the last 7-8 hours. Caitlin Clark dropping a new colorway, showing us a new...
What if one roster decision sparked a chain reaction that no one saw coming? Just when fans believed the spotlight was finally shifting back to the action on the court, a surprising personnel move involving one of Caitlin Clark's teammates sent social media into overdrive. Within minutes, basketball fans, analysts, and rival supporters were all asking the same question: why now? But what happened next made the story even bigger. Angel Reese's response, whether intentional or not, quickly became the center of attention, fueling new debates across the WNBA community. Was it simply a coincidence, a competitive reaction, or something much deeper that fans are only beginning to notice? As more details surfaced, the conversation expanded far beyond a single roster move, raising questions about team chemistry, growing rivalries, and the pressure surrounding two of the league's biggest stars. Stay with us, because the full story isn't as straightforward as the headlines suggest, and some of the biggest twists are still ahead.
First look at Caitlin Clark's new yellow colorway of the Nike Caitlin 1. These are 10 zillion times better than the blue and whites. They pop more, they look more unique, they look crispier, much better than the blue and whites. To me, this should have been the first colorway that you showed us.
The WNBA never stays quiet for long, but every once in a while, one decision creates a ripple effect that reaches far beyond a single game. That's exactly what happened when news surrounding one of Caitlin Clark's teammates began spreading online. At first, it looked like an ordinary roster decision, something every professional team deals with throughout a long season. But within hours, fans started connecting the dots, and suddenly the discussion wasn't just about one player. It became another chapter in the growing conversation surrounding Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and the intense spotlight following both stars wherever they go. Social media wasted no time reacting. Some fans argued the move was purely about basketball and that teams make difficult personnel decisions all the time. Others believed there had to be more behind the scenes. Whenever a player leaves the rotation, gets waived, or loses minutes unexpectedly, speculation naturally follows. That's especially true when the team features one of the biggest names in the league. For Caitlin Clark, every decision made by the Indiana Fever is examined under a microscope. Since arriving in the WNBA, she has attracted unprecedented attention, bringing record television ratings, packed arenas, and millions of new viewers. That level of popularity also means every roster adjustment becomes headline news. Even routine coaching decisions quickly turn into debates across sports media. As conversations continued online, many fans began asking whether the roster move would change the team's chemistry.
This is load management. This is what they fired Scott Agness for. In case you guys aren't aware, this is what they fired Scott Agness for.
Just Aaliyah Boston was obviously listed as questionable yesterday. How did she feel through shoot around, and do you have an update on her status for tonight?
Yeah, she just did some of the shooting. She's going to be out tonight. Again with the back-to-back. And Caitlin are back-to-back. Caitlin's going to be active tonight. AB's not, and then they'll flip-flop tomorrow.
What has been
They're load managing.
Building a successful team isn't only about talent. It's about trust, communication, and every player understanding their role. When changes happen in the middle of a season, teammates often need time to adjust, and that's something every championship-caliber team experiences. Meanwhile, Angel Reese's name unexpectedly entered the conversation. Although she wasn't directly involved in the roster decision, fans quickly compared the situations surrounding both young stars. Their rivalry has generated enormous attention ever since their famous NCAA championship meeting, and every new storyline seems to bring their names back together. Supporters of Reese pointed out that she has faced plenty of criticism herself throughout her professional career. Others argued that Clark has dealt with constant pressure since entering the league. Regardless of which side fans support, one thing is impossible to ignore: both players have become two of the biggest faces of women's basketball, and nearly every headline involving one eventually includes the other. Basketball analysts also reminded fans that organizations make roster decisions based on many different factors. Salary cap flexibility, injuries, player development, matchups, and long-term planning all play major roles. What may appear surprising to fans often makes perfect sense internally. Coaches and front offices usually have information the public never sees. Still, speculation continued to grow because timing matters. Whenever a significant decision happens during a highly competitive stretch of the season, people naturally wonder if bigger changes could follow. Would this open the door for younger players? Would rotations change? Could the coaching staff be preparing for a different style of play? Those questions kept fans engaged long after the initial reports surfaced. For Caitlin Clark, adapting to constant change has almost become part of the job. Throughout her rookie campaign and beyond, she's faced different defensive strategies, lineup adjustments, injuries, and enormous expectations from both fans and the media. Yet despite those challenges, she has continued working to improve her overall game while helping her team compete every night. The growing attention also highlights something larger happening across the WNBA. Interest in the league continues reaching new heights. Television audiences have increased, merchandise sales remain strong, and social media engagement has exploded. Every major story now spreads across the internet within minutes, making it much harder for organizations to quietly handle routine basketball decisions. As discussions intensified, some basketball insiders urged fans not to jump to conclusions before hearing official explanations. They emphasized that roster moves happen throughout every professional sports season and rarely tell the complete story by themselves. Patience, they argued, is often the smartest approach. Even so, public curiosity didn't disappear. Instead, it shifted toward what this could mean moving forward. Would the team's rotation become more effective? Could this create new opportunities for other players? And perhaps most importantly, how would Caitlin Clark and her teammates respond on the court? Those questions remain at the center of the conversation. Basketball ultimately answers criticism through performance, not speculation. Winning games has a way of changing narratives almost overnight, while losses often create even more debate. That's why every upcoming game suddenly carries extra significance, not just for the standings, but for the story fans have been following all season. One thing is certain, this situation has once again demonstrated how closely the basketball world watches every move involving Caitlin Clark. Whether it's a roster adjustment, coaching decision, or post-game interview, nothing escapes public attention for very long. And with Angel Reese continuing to make headlines of her own, comparisons between the league's two biggest young stars aren't likely to disappear anytime soon. But as more information continues to emerge, another unexpected development begins shifting the conversation in a completely different direction. What initially looked like a simple basketball decision may actually reveal something much bigger about the direction of the team, and that's where the story becomes even more interesting. As the initial reactions began to settle, the conversation shifted away from the roster move itself and toward a much bigger question. What does this mean for the Indiana Fever moving forward? Fans weren't just debating one transaction anymore. They were wondering whether this signaled a change in the team's long-term strategy. Throughout the season, the Fever have repeatedly emphasized building around Caitlin Clark and developing a roster capable of competing for years to come. That process isn't always smooth. Every rebuilding team faces difficult decisions, and sometimes those choices involve moving on from players who simply no longer fit the direction the organization wants to take. Former players and analysts often point out that chemistry is one of the hardest things to build in professional sports. Talent alone doesn't guarantee wins. Every player has to understand their responsibilities, trust their teammates, and adapt to changing roles throughout the season. Even a single roster adjustment can influence how a team practices, communicates, and performs during games. That's why many basketball experts encouraged fans not to overreact before seeing how the coaching staff adjusted the rotation. Sometimes, a move that appears controversial on social media ends up creating better balance on the court. Other times, it exposes weaknesses that weren't obvious before. Only the games themselves can provide those answers. At the same time, Caitlin Clark continues facing challenges that few rookies, or even veteran stars, have experienced. Every pass, every missed shot, every turnover, and every victory becomes a trending topic within minutes. With millions of fans following her every performance, the pressure surrounding each game remains incredibly high. That constant attention also creates enormous expectations for everyone around her. Coaches are expected to make perfect decisions. Teammates are judged after every possession. Front office executives face criticism whenever the roster changes. In many ways, the spotlight surrounding Clark affects the entire organization, not just the player herself. Meanwhile, Angel Reese's supporters continued making comparisons online. Although Reese wasn't directly connected to the Fever's roster decision, her name once again became part of the broader discussion because of the rivalry that has followed both players since college basketball. Some fans argued that the media constantly frames every WNBA story as Clark versus Reese, even when the situation has little to do with either player personally. Others believe the comparisons are unavoidable because both athletes have become the faces of a rapidly growing league. Regardless of opinion, their names continue generating conversations that reach millions of basketball fans around the world. Another important factor often overlooked is how quickly narratives can change during a long season. One impressive win can erase days of criticism. Likewise, one disappointing performance can create entirely new debates. That's why coaches usually avoid reacting emotionally to headlines and instead focus on preparing for the next game. Several basketball commentators also reminded viewers that roster decisions involve far more than public perception. Salary cap considerations, player contracts, injuries, future draft plans, and long-term development all influence these moves. Fans typically see only the final announcement, while front offices spend weeks, or even months, evaluating every possible outcome before making a decision. As discussions continued, attention returned to Caitlin Clark's leadership. Since entering the league, she has repeatedly stated that her priority is helping the team improve rather than focusing on individual recognition. Teammates have also spoken about her willingness to communicate, compete, and learn throughout the season. Those qualities become especially important during periods of change. Whether a player joins the lineup, leaves the roster, or sees a different role, strong leadership helps maintain confidence inside the locker room. Championship teams often face adversity, but how they respond usually determines their success. For Angel Reese, the season has presented its own unique challenges and opportunities. She has continued working to establish herself as one of the league's most impactful young forwards while embracing the physical style of play that made her successful in college. Like Clark, she remains under constant public scrutiny, with every performance analyzed by fans and media alike. Despite the ongoing comparisons, many basketball observers believe the league benefits from having multiple young stars attracting new audiences. Healthy competition, compelling storylines, and exciting matchups all contribute to increased interest in women's basketball. As long as those conversations remain focused on the game itself, they help the sport continue growing. Still, online speculation rarely stops with one story. Before long, fans began asking whether this roster decision could lead to additional changes before the season reached its most important stretch. Would another player receive more minutes? Could the coaching staff experiment with different lineups? Or was this simply an isolated move with no larger implications? Those questions remain unanswered for now. What is clear, however, is that the Fever understand every decision they make will be closely watched by fans across the league. Expectations are higher than ever, and every move carries added significance because of the attention surrounding the franchise. As the team prepares for its next challenge, the focus gradually shifts from speculation back to basketball. Ultimately, performances on the court, not social media debates, will determine whether these decisions help the Fever become a stronger team. But just when many believed the discussion was beginning to calm down, another unexpected development started gaining attention. New reactions from fans, analysts, and former players introduced an entirely different perspective on the situation. One that could completely change how people view everything that's happened so far. As the debate continued across social media, one thing became increasingly clear. This story was never just about one roster decision. Instead, it highlighted how dramatically the WNBA has changed over the past few seasons. Every move involving the league's biggest stars now generates nationwide discussion, and no players receive more attention than Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. What started as speculation about one teammate quickly evolved into a broader conversation about expectations, team building, and the pressure that comes with being one of the most recognizable athletes in professional basketball. Fans weren't simply reacting to a transaction, they were reacting to what they believed it represented. For the Indiana Fever, the expectations have never been higher. Since selecting Caitlin Clark, every game has carried extra significance. Attendance has reached record levels, television ratings continue to climb, and arenas across the country sell out whenever Clark takes the floor. That kind of popularity creates incredible opportunities, but it also means every organizational decision receives intense public scrutiny. Many analysts believe this is simply the reality of building around a franchise player. Every championship team eventually reaches moments where difficult choices must be made. Coaches adjust rotations. Veterans lose minutes. Younger players receive larger roles. While those decisions can be unpopular in the short term, organizations often believe they're necessary for long-term success. Still, fans naturally become emotionally attached to players. Whenever someone leaves the rotation or no longer appears to be part of the team's plans, supporters immediately begin searching for explanations. Some assume there must be conflict behind the scenes, while others believe it's purely a basketball decision. In reality, the answer is often much more complicated than public speculation suggests. Throughout this discussion, Angel Reese's name continued appearing across social media. Not because she was directly involved, but because fans constantly compare the journeys of the league's two brightest young stars. Ever since their unforgettable college matchup, every headline surrounding one player seems to spark conversations about the other. Some basketball observers believe those comparisons have become excessive. Clark and Reese play different positions, bring different strengths to the court, and compete for different organizations. Yet because both athletes entered the league with enormous fan bases, their careers will likely remain connected in public conversations for years to come. Interestingly, several former players encouraged fans to focus less on online rumors and more on what actually happens during games. They argued that social media often creates narratives long before all the facts become available. A single post, interview clip, or rumor can spread across the internet within minutes, even when no official confirmation exists. That serves as an important reminder for every sports fan. While speculation can be entertaining, the most reliable information almost always comes from official team announcements, post-game interviews, and verified reporting. Waiting for complete information often provides a much clearer understanding of why certain decisions are made. Meanwhile, inside the Fever organization, the focus likely remains much simpler than the online conversation suggests: preparing for the next game. Coaches spend countless hours studying opponents, designing practice plans, and helping players improve. Front office executives continue evaluating the roster with both the current season and the future in mind. For Caitlin Clark herself, maintaining that focus has become one of her greatest strengths. Throughout every stage of her basketball career, she's consistently emphasized teamwork over individual headlines. Whether facing praise after a big win or criticism following a difficult loss, her public comments have repeatedly reflected the same message: keep working, keep improving, and let performances speak for themselves. That mindset may ultimately prove more valuable than any social media debate. Professional sports are filled with unexpected twists. Injuries happen. Lineups change. New opportunities emerge. The teams that succeed are usually the ones capable of adapting without losing sight of their long-term goals. As for Angel Reese, she continues writing her own story as one of the league's most competitive young stars. Her determination, rebounding ability, and confidence have helped establish her as a key player for her team. Rather than viewing Clark and Reese as rivals in every situation, many fans now appreciate how both athletes are helping introduce millions of new viewers to women's basketball. The growth of the league may ultimately become the biggest story of all. More fans are watching games than ever before. Television networks are increasing coverage. Sponsorships continue growing. Young athletes now have more role models to follow, and the future of the WNBA appears brighter than it has in decades. Looking ahead, the Fever's success won't be determined by one roster move alone. It will depend on player development, health, coaching adjustments, and how well the team performs when the pressure is highest. Every organization experiences difficult moments during a season, but championship contenders separate themselves by responding positively when challenges arise. For now, the conversations surrounding Caitlin Clark, her teammates, and Angel Reese will almost certainly continue. That's simply the reality of modern sports, where every headline spreads instantly and every opinion finds an audience online. But as exciting as the speculation can be, basketball has always provided the ultimate answer. The scoreboard tells the real story. Wins build confidence, losses create questions, and over the course of a season, performances matter far more than rumors. With several important games still ahead, fans won't have to wait long to see how this story unfolds. Will the recent changes help the Fever become an even stronger team? Will new players step into bigger roles? And will the ongoing comparisons between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese finally begin to fade? Or will the next matchup create an entirely new chapter in one of the WNBA's most talked about storylines? Only time will answer those questions, but one thing is certain: the basketball world will be watching every step of the way. So, what do you think? Was this simply a routine basketball decision, or is there a bigger story developing behind the scenes? Do you believe the Indiana Fever made the right move, or could this decision come back to haunt them later in the season? And what role, if any, do you think Angel Reese's reaction plays in the growing conversation surrounding the league's biggest stars? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read them all, and your opinion could be featured in a future video. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more updates on Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, the Indiana Fever, and the biggest WNBA stories, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.